Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to my channel, I'm going to do a journal message for Scorpio. Know that energy is fluid. Rules could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blockages, the shadows, to see how they play out as karmic themes, to help you understand why everything's playing out the way that it is, what you can do to shape shift the energy. If there's many different realities that play out at one time, why do we tend to get stuck in a limited reality, a reality that takes us out of our true, authentic energy? And that's the energy that we're born with. The energy that we're born with is just unconditional love. It's like a clear consciousness. And the reason why is because we haven't experienced anything yet, right? So when you look at a baby, how they breathe correctly through the diaphragm. You can see their little bellies go up and down, up and down. Most people, by the time that they're like 13, by the time that they're 13, for sure, they're wired. By the time that we're 7, they say that we've been wired. And so that means wired from the environment. So whatever your parents' wounds were, a lot of times you'll inherit, and that will come out within the behaviorisms and in the habits. So it's to understand that you're the alchemist of your life. So it's not just about integrating the spiritual lesson, which is how did I contribute to the imbalances, but what can I do with that energy? Again, it's about the alchemy process. Otherwise, we can go through experiences and see it from a different perception, but that energy, you just can't get rid of it. It doesn't dissipate. They say again, you have to turn that pain into power, fear into fire, because really that's what it is that you're doing. And that fire is then channeled into purpose. Fire that isn't channeled into anything is anger, it's resentment. It's like it makes us stay in a lower energy, is all. So I want to thank you guys for being here. And I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm cold. I'm hot. I'm cold. It's like Florida winter is like the worst because it's it's like you feel like you're crazy. All right. Also, know anything of any importance or relevance to the channel, you know where to find it. It's in the description box. If you need a gift, give the gift of healing this holiday spirit with Otter Spirit bracelets. I'm wearing my own combo here, which is bring abundance, bring money my way. Like not beating around the bush. I don't even care about relationship. I had a great relationship. My husband passed away last year. So it's like that's not really what I'm looking for. But when you don't look for it, that's when people come, right? Because you don't need it. So easy to get what you need. All right, the energy is merciless forgiveness. 1 second. That's the underlining energy. Oh, I'm feeling a few things. Attachment. So when we see things like merciless forgiveness and attachment, it means that you're still attached to things that make you angry, that you can't let go. There's a sense of needing not let go, and possibly it happened a long time ago, but it keeps playing out within different experiences. So a karmic theme. So it's keeping you in a place of feeling stuck where you're like, I'm not really seeing anything change within my life. And so when we need to let go, it'll manifest as like, again, stuck energy. So you can be stuck and like being angry with people, being like, my life looks the way that it does because of you. And understand that's the perception, and the perception is always gained through the experience that you lived. So understand. So it's not that you didn't live it, but it's the definition that we put to it, which then opens us up to to a karmic to a karmic energy. And a karmic energy from a spiritual perspective is a negative energy, which is a negative spirit, right? Because you're a spiritual being having human experiences. So when we need to let go, it's like I keep tracking people that betray me. I attract people that emotionally don't care. It's just this karmic theme that makes you feel a certain way, but it's not true. But is true that you did live that perception, like I said. So what is formed is a negative attachment, which is I'm connected to someone that I don't really want to be connected to. And you might even have family members that you're like, yeah, they're my family. I'm connected to them, but I don't really have an emotional connection to it. And so usually you'll see that within betrayal, like where there's a lack of this emotional connection, which happens when we need this forgiveness, and we'll see it within relationship. And that's why I said because that's a root chakra imbalance. And the root chakra is that there's like pain and there's trauma that again affected the foundation. And so you're going to see problems in a lot of different areas then, where it can keep you feeling as if that there's something wrong with you, but there really is nothing wrong with you. But you always have to denounce the negative spirit, because again, we're spiritual beings. Yes, when this physical body dies, the shell of it will die. The spirit goes back to source. Remember, it's all about oneness. We're all connected through this oneness. And so that's the energy of love. So let's take a peek and say, well, I want to start with what are the hidden truths? Let's, like, again, obviously we see that there's wounds. We're going to go there eventually, but we don't need to start off there. We're going to start off somewhere that's, neutral, which is I look for you everywhere. I feel like this person has a hard time on an emotional level to open up, right? So a person that, wants to see you, but doesn't also know whether you want to see them, So again, because this person knows that you're angry. Well, how do we know that? Because merciless forgiveness is there. It's a karmic theme. And so it's like this person was a soulmate. And so there's always a perception that the soulmate's supposed to be perfect. But, when they come into our lives and they act like bad, then it really hurts. And it's a reminder almost of the family that you grew up in, where it's like, well, my mother, my father, they're supposed to act this way, or this is the way that I would have acted. If this is what I would have given, this is what I would have needed, that there was some sort of, not there. And so when there's that wound that's within mother and father, then it's always going to reflect within our relationship, is because we have to forgive. That's why it says forgive mother and father, honor mother and father. It's like, because you're really honoring the what they went through in life to transcend what they had to transcend, that you'll never know because you didn't live that life. You didn't grow up in that era. You don't know what it was like to be them in that race, in that time, in that culture, in that whatever their instances was. It's like you only know from your level of consciousness. Again, this person, again, they want you on deep level. You're like, and that's what it looks like. And God says, well, again, when there's wounds, that's what it's going to look like. You're going to see a lot of psychological reversals where the person sabotages their energy because they don't really believe that they are deserving of it. So we always want to know, how did those spirit take over that person? And that spirit takes over that person through the fact that there's trauma, there's underlying trauma, where detachment, disassociation is. That spirit is able to, again, go into that person and take over that person because they've lived that experience. So there's a feeling. I regret lying to you, and I feel like this person like acted like that they didn't really care. I feel like that was the big lie. And because of that, they'd never really let you get in that close. They would have strategized everything, but they were in a place of fear. And that says more about them than you. But understand it's going to trigger you. And it's designed spiritually by God to trigger you because God says, well, you have stuff that need to be healed. So these relationships, when they're like, well, why does it look like that? Spirit says to help you heal, to help you evolve back into your original energy of unconditional love. You came closer to me than anyone. So, like this person, like, I feel like they think that it's over. And that's why they regret lying to you. And that because they think that you don't forgive them, that you won't forgive them. Now, that's also where a person has fear of abandonment, where as a child they did, make a mistake or do something wrong or was seen not perfect. And they got the love taken away from them. That love has expectations. Love, there's ownership. So it becomes more of an attachment than it actually does of anything else, which there are expectations and those expectations weren't met. This person knows that, but on some level for you, it's that, hey, these expectations weren't met, but there's still unconditional love there because you can't control who you love and who you don't. So it just becomes a weird, like, again, attachment. So this person says, well, I'd love to have a conversation. I'd love to get together. Uh, but I look for you everywhere and hope to bump into you. I regret lying to you. I regret pretending that I didn't have feelings for you. I regret that. But they're like, okay, so why don't you do anything about it? You're stuck and stupid. Is that and spirit says, yes, that's what happens. That's what the psychological reversal looks like. It's like the answer's right there. It's right there. It's like, so you're gonna go. It's like watching one of those horror movies, and it's like, hey, there's the running car, but they're gonna all one go back into the shed that has all the knives in it, and it's again, it's like, why would you do that? It's like, are you stupid? And spirit says, yes. It's called stuck and stupid, and that's when fear happens, and the sabotaging behavior is already like kind of rewired, and that's rewired where this person has created habits and behaviorisms that deliberately sabotage the connection, where I'm going to act like I don't care. And so, and then it's not just that they didn't care. There's usually like some behaviorism that, is a thing where you can't forgive. Like you feel like, well, you crossed the line. So now what am I supposed to do? I'm an asshole if I take you back. And I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. And I don't really want to live like I'm damned either way. It's like I want a different choice. So again, it's bringing out the fuck you. It's like you know exactly what you did, and the person's like, yeah, I know exactly what I did. It's like where again, this person would try to trigger you to get you to like fawn all over them. And I don't believe that you were like that. So what they would do is they displayed that they cared more for either a past relationship or just insignificant relationships opposed to you. So again, but they were trying to like, I feel like trying to trigger you, trying to make you feel insecure because of the fact that they're insecure and they needed for you to show them how much you cared for them, how much you desired them. And so understand anyone that would be like that, that's again someone that's really needy, that's somebody that's they would never want to stay with, that they're going to treat like shit once they actually get that. The fact that you weren't like that, I feel like it triggered their abandonment but it also triggered their insecurities. So they're like, I'm going to try and make you feel insecure. I'm going to try and put you in that spot because I can't emotionally be transparent and really create that emotional bond. So I'm going to create drama, which is kind of going to do the same exact thing, but there's going to create like a wall, but my energy is still attached to yours, which is like third grade, like going back to like third grade, which you have to say sometimes that's when the trauma actually, that original trauma happened. That person never really evolved, And so what happens is that the person just feels like if you're in a relationship with them, you're just going to feel like they're always manipulating you. Like, and then, but you don't know over time what's real and what's not because the person's gaslighting. They're not letting you in. And so it's what happens is like the trauma that the person has went through before continues to play out. And then it has, again, this unresolved trauma they take out on you. So you don't know why the person's acting the way that they are. And you're like, okay, we have this connection, but then you're going to show like insignificant people a lot more attention and caring than you do about me because you want me to feel insecure because you're insecure. Which again, this is how a person like again tries to find again get you to give them energy to console them. But you're like, first of all, like you should have a conversation. No, because that would create transparency where the person doesn't trust, but they really don't trust themselves because trust doesn't come from trusting other people. It comes from trusting ourselves. And when we're strong in ourselves, we can be transparent. Because guess what? If you don't like my transparency, well, guess what? If you're not going to stay in my life, I don't care. You know what I mean? And more room for someone new to come into my life. I'm strong within myself. This person's not strong within themselves. This relationship brings that out. So you're not seeing that. You're only seeing the crazy energy where they're disrespecting your boundaries to the point that it just makes you angry because first of all you're always making me feel like I'm forgotten about, you ignore me. Well, because again it's a form of gaslighting you to try to make you feel a certain way, but I feel like they overdid it, which by the way is the second chakra imbalance, where the person is like they're not strong in themselves. That second chakra is all about our unique individuality, going with the flow of life, being in healthy relationships, not attachment style relationship. This person always winds up with people hating them because that's what they do. So it's like, well, I'm going to come right on in and make sure that you hate me because I already know we're going to go in that direction. So I'm going to beat you to the punch, which you're like, what for? It's like, it's not because they're conscious of it. It's just their assholish behavior comes out as that anxiety. So I'm going to try to again make you soothe me, but I'm not going to ask you for that because that would make me look weak. So I'm going to create the illusion. And if you're not strong within yourself, you would have fell for it. And people have fallen for it. That's why they do it. And it normally works. It didn't work with you. And that's the thing, because you actually care about yourself. You're actually grounded in something aside from this person. So that's why they regret lying to you, because you're a real person. It's like that you weren't like, I think people attract who they are. And a lot of times this person attracts who they are. So they just come in full of crap to begin with. So you don't really see whether they're going to do anything except for like said, like, I hope to bump into you. We'll pull from another deck just to see. I know we're going to get to the healing, but we're going to do anything aside from that. I wish I could give you more. So this says again, like, I feel like this person would come in if they had a lot to offer. I feel like they don't have a lot to offer. And that contributes to, again, how they view themselves. When people view themselves through the house that they live in, the car that they drive, Those are not who people are. People are, again, where they choose to put their energy and how they choose to put their energy. This person doesn't come from a good sense of self. They're too busy creating illusions to try to make you feel a certain way, which cuts them off from love because they don't believe that they can have love, and abundance is in alignment with love. So this person may appear as if they have a lot of money and not really have as much money. So there's this sense of, well, if I let you in, you're going to see that those aspects, which are aspects of people that have attachment issues, because it's like, why do we have attachments? Well, that person is giving them something. Some people have attachments to people on an emotional level. Hey, they give to me on an emotional level, so I keep them in my life, but they're abusive to me. Some people have attachments to money, and it's because, again, of the lack, that they feel like, well, I can't make money. So I'm attached to this person for money, or I'm attached to this person for, you know, relationship, whatever it is, but it's not for the right reason. And so, again, when it's not for the right reason, there's expectation and there's ownership. That's not unconditional love. This person started off as attachment. They're not going to lie. But now you showed them, again, that you're not somebody that has attachment. And that is making them see that they could possibly have a relationship, because none of their relationships worked because they always have attachment. And the attachment is what creates the resentment and creates the control and creates this person to get trigger all their stupid behavior that sabotages the relationship. So they went into the relationship assuming that this relationship would go all the way that all the other relationships go. Well, you were different, but it makes them also look at themselves. Again, so they gave you the silent treatment, hoping that you would get triggered, that you would say something. Because most of the time that works. Someone comes back and says, can we talk about it? Or why are you treating me this way? Or why can't, and you were like, "Oh, carry on." And this person is like, well, that triggered their abandonment and that triggered their insecurity. But they're not going to show you that. They're going to show you this asshole version of themselves to make themselves appear something that they're not. I can't stand the thought of you with someone else. See, I knew it. I knew it. That's why this person is affected. But it's like, because the spirit would always make this person uncomfortable, is what I wanted to see. Because when a person doesn't want to surrender their ego, which is what you have here, but that's when a person surrenders their ego, they come to God. They come to a place of unconditional love. They come to a place of spiritual equilibrium, which is balance. And so, which makes you feel safe. So person is fighting against themselves, which is a spiritual issue. This is how a spiritual entity, like a spiritual negative spirit, literally takes over a body, can take when there's trauma. It's like, yes, there's fragmentation, disassociation, but there's also that negative spirit that is like, why does this person act like such an asshole? Why do they act like, because they already feel like they're not loved. They feel like they can't have it. So again, it's a lot of obstacles where you're like, this person just is always going to get in their own way. And they will, unless they do healing. And healing is, going back, unfortunately, into their inner child wound, seeing like what happened, integrating it, then denouncing that negative spirit, doing deliverance healing, because to fill the spirit back up. Because then you're like, realize, always know, I am not that. I am not my experience. I'm not the house that I live in. I'm not the car that I drive. I'm not my job. A lot of different things. A lot of different things are what make us up. And that we are able to metamorphose and change every day, and that we and life changes us. So we're not the same person that we were, and so it's important to evolve. But a person can't evolve when they're spiritually blocked. It's that they're blocked in a perception, and that perception creates detachment, and detachment not just from their physical body, their physical mind, but actually from God and from, again, the connection to love. So how would God be able to teach? It's going to teach you through. I feel like there's something in my tooth. Sorry. Um, you know, I feel like, God teaches people through that, through, soul relationships, because it makes us change. It makes us be different. It makes us evolve, whether we want to or not. And that's what it's about. Otherwise, we would stay stuck in these energies. So what you see is this process of this person already seeing that people don't like them, that they sabotage relationships, and that they get in their own way. But eventually it pushes this person into a spiritual awakening, because people don't would never stay in that place. It's just usually it's tower moments that happen. It's something like emotionally that affects the person, to make them, again, finally awaken to, hey, listen, you're getting in your own way. You're acting like you're separate from God, you're separate from love, that you're separate from that. People make mistakes, people can change, where this person's just stuck in fear. And that's a negative spirit. Again, because fear is just, again, attracts negativity. So it's not like this person hasn't lived that reality. Remember, they did live it, but they're stuck in that reality. And so it took someone that was going to be different, but also someone that they were attracted to, also someone that there was a spiritual connection that didn't logically make sense, that this person couldn't logic themselves out of, which is the survival mind, by the way. So where it's like they're still stuck until they finally come to a place of surrender, and because, again, the toxicity just got too bad, their own toxicity, which is they damage everything. And that means bad habits, bad behaviorisms. It means that this is what it calls for merciless forgiveness. This person doesn't deserve forgiveness. God says, I realize that. You don't think that I know that, but I forgave you. So again, you need to forgive and learn forgiveness. And you're like, well, I do forgive. I forgave Mary Jane, when she stepped on my sneaker. And I forgave, and God said, no, something big. Forgive. That's unforgivable. That they doesn't deserve forgiveness. Is merciless forgiveness. It's and when there's unconditional love, which is what is unconditional love, but that's why you feel like you're stuck, and it's become a weird attachment instead of what it should be, because it's I'm angry, and this person knows. That's why they're like, I look for you everywhere, but I am not gonna call you out, because I don't even want to know what you're gonna say, because I already know what you're gonna say. And I don't want to hear what you got to say, because at least I can imagine. What is that song? If I can't be without you, I can dream about you. So that song, that's what I hear. Can't sing, can't hold the tune in a bucket. I realize that. But my point is that it's that this person's not knowing is better than knowing, because I think that the answer is going to be no. But if I bump into you, maybe I can, read into how you're feeling. I could feel whether you care about me. And then if I feel like you don't, I could act like I don't care. This way I'm safe, which is completely ridiculous, because I mean, you're not going to feel that. It's where they feel like they're so slick. And it's because I can't be transparent, I might drop dead tomorrow, you know what I mean? But they were taught that. But that's the energy. And so it's like it's pushing this person to change, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you would want to be with this person after, again, them acting like everyone else is more important, deliberately trying to get a rise out of you, acting like exes are more important, acting like, just people, and it could be over the slightest thing. And so, where it's a lot of dishonesty, and just like it just kept going on and on and on, we see ignored again. So it's like this, like you might have had the conversation, this person said that they would change, it never changed, it always went back to the same thing, because it was like, well, I'm trying to get underneath your skin to get you to react, so that it could be like I can see whether or not you desire me. I could see whether or not you care. I need that reassurance, but I'm not going to ask, because I can't do that, and you're not acting like you care enough. You're acting too much. So again, this person's insecure, and so because they don't believe that they're deserving of it, basing this relationship like every other relationship, and handled it the way that you would handle it, the way that they are used of it being handled. And what they came across is you don't, and then they're like, put so much time and effort in trying to manipulate. They watched you, and they grew an attachment to you, an actual emotional attachment, which they didn't feel like they could have. So yes, when it started, it was a lot of games, it was a lot of manipulation, it was a lot of, but now it's like this person is going through a spiritual awakening, they are changing, but like I said, it just may be too late. And that is the problem. And that might mean where you'll be like, I'd love to take this person back, but fuck them, after everything, because there's a lot of that energy, which is like never. And spirit be like, good, because, understand, usually if a person is going to come back, they're going to work real hard to get back. And that forces a person to open up their heart. So spirit says, oh, wait long and hard, make them work really hard, because this person has a closed heart. Is again, so they're not used to working. They don't like to work. They don't feel like it feeds their ego. Again, there's a feeling of lack, not enough, not believing. So if I give you when I've lost, well, it's again, and then that's where they're looking. And if that's where they're looking, that's what they're going to create. So we'll see which cards fall out, and we'll read them. All right. Let's see. We see, I need to be strong in who I am before I can merge with your energy in the 3D. I'm afraid I could lose myself in this relationship. And that's because they have an emotional connection now where they're not strong spiritually. They're in survival mode. They're in survival reptilian mind, coming from the wounds of the mind. They're not a strong person. This relationship scares them. They need validation. And the thing is, no one wants to walk around someone making them feel like a fucking king or queen, because they're insecure. Because then they'll come to a place of disrespecting you, which is what has happened in the past, which is when you didn't do it, it triggered their ego. So they again tried to make you do it even more so, and to just push it. One of us is sad or angry, and it's creating an energetic match or frequency with the other. So again, you're still connected. There's still this this attachment, like I was saying, and that's like, oh, you just kind of like fucking sucking off my energy. Get off. It's like, because I don't want to be with you. I don't like you. I never like you. Drop dead, fry in hell. Almost like your spirit says merciless forgiveness means like you're pretty pissed off about it, because you're like, oh no, like you had me fucked up over that situation. I ruminated to myself about it for months on end, and understand that person knows. But they did that because they wanted you to, again, reassure them. So the more that you didn't, the more that they did it. And so again, they pushed it. So again, and this person's like, oh no, you're mad. I'm staying away because you might set me on fire. It's like this person knows and they're not happy because again, karmic behaviorisms and situations are playing a role in what's happening in this person's life. So it shows that they're not happy, that they're not strong within their own life. They formed habits and behaviorisms that were built on trauma. So what'll happen is, relationships, the way that this person was to you, they also were to other people, where they have to act superior. They had to create the illusion that there's someone that they're not because that they feel that there's something wrong with them. That's why people do that. People don't do it because they feel great. They're like, well, I want people to perceive me as this. And so the thing is, when we emulate, we're not coming from our authentic self. We're coming from like a cheap version. Just like if you copy someone else's work, yes, people will see that the work is copied, but they know it's not yours. They know it's not authentic. You know, things come from the heart. What we share, what we know, the knowledge that we've studied, that we've read, right? That's what makes us. Otherwise, we're just a cheap counterfeit and we're just pretending. So we don't become strong in who we are. We create ourselves. This person, again, for whatever reason, they didn't create themselves. So they have, you know, a feeling of lack. And like I said, they create the same type of scenario. That's why they say it's like karmic tie. And that even though it doesn't say, well, it does, it says people, but it's also like the situations. So I felt like this person just pisses people off. So they could have worked for someone, they could have owned a business, and people could have walked out on their business. This person could have, been had like friends, then all their friends disappeared and left their life. And then what happens is they have to start all over. It's almost like they have to build their life from scratch. And then they recreate their life, and then the same thing happens. So it's like this relationship is tied into that. It's like where this person wants certain things, but they don't believe that they can have them. And that happens when a person has a lot of trauma. And like I said, they're not coming from the fact of spirit. They need spiritual healing. They need deliverance healing. They need spiritual healing. They need to realize that they're not their situations and really start over. It's like if we grew up in that type of an environment, then we were wired to have these sabotaging behaviorisms, because what helped us survive will block us from actually thriving and being abundant. And because again, how do we manifest? Through the thoughts that we think and the emotions that we have. And when we've gone through an experience that's that traumatizing, well, that's what the child self remembers. That's what's imprinted on the subconscious mind. That and those type of experiences are going to continue to come. So it's not that this person doesn't have feelings, and it's not like that you don't. It's not like anything is not happening right now, even though you're like, I don't see shit. Spirit says, well, you have to clear the illusion of the 3D world. Don't take everything at face value. There's a lot more going on spiritually and energetically than what you can see, because it's all internal. So you're not seeing anything, most likely, except for that this person acts like an asshole and they act like they don't care. And that's why I'm pissed off. Where spirit says no. It's like they're confronted with a situation that either they get it together spiritually, like become strong on a spiritual level, or they can just forget it. They're always going to lose themselves in the connection, but they're going to lose themselves in the connection where they're like deluded in what they see. They're always coming from that trauma, and they're coming from a place of doubt. It's like they know that they've hurt you and they want forgiveness. They don't know whether or not you're going to see that they were coming from a place of fear. Usually people don't. We see from people for what they did, and it's like they want to talk to you, but they're not ready to tell you everything because they're embarrassed. And that is that, but they do want to talk to you, and they would like, because you've been in separation for a while. It's almost like, fine, fine, fine. I wave the white flag. I say, you get your point. I get your point. But to be fully transparent is to be like so like naked and give you so much power, which you're like, it's not even power. But to this person, it's everything, and it's because of what they've gone through. And again, and so they still feel the connection that you're angry, like you said, and that they know that this is more than a relationship, and that there is a higher purpose to our connection. And yes, it's always is. It's healing to help evolve back to the energy of unconditional love. Because I think person would want to stick around and deal with all this person would rather drop dead. They're like, then you have to deal with their emotions and feel vulnerable. And that's whatever happened in their life. It's like it's what they've been conditioned. But you're just seeing the behaviorism and how they treated you and be like, they don't really deserve forgiveness. And that's what this person believes too on some level. That's why they create it. So again, they need to, like, it's almost like you never know who you're dealing with this person. You feel like they wear a lot of masks where they're very superficial, but they're covering up the lack. If I tickle in my throat. Sorry about that. To that, like they're always trying to cover up who they are. You know what I mean? When people are wounded, they create the illusion, the perception. But then you're not going to be able to go that deep within a relationship. And a spiritual connection is a deep connection. But that's a terrifying connection for someone that's saying, oh, I need a lot of healing. Because you're not going to like me. You're not going to stay. So I'd rather you leave. I'd rather me make you leave than you actually leave. Again, just too many barriers caused from the past. Again, where they were always trying to protect themselves, which makes it impossible for the relationship to grow, right? It's like, because it's like they're too busy surviving. We're too busy surviving. We can never thrive. That's the rule. We have to be non-attachment. We have to be open to receiving. We have to believe that we can. We have to be able to, heal. This person has never, like, I feel like, done any healing, and this relationship is making them do healing, but it's making them do a lot of internal healing because you're their secret desire. It's like they don't not going to say anything. It's again unspoken needs. Is really this person like needs to learn how to talk and be vulnerable, and that's terrifying to them. It's like because it reveals who they are, and it's like you might not like me. It's like people have left. It's again where it may not be, but then Spirit says until they heal themselves on some level, the relationship will always be turbulent because it's always gonna there will always be unresolved conflicts because they don't like to communicate. And a relationship, it's all about communication. It's all about compromise. You're not in a relationship with yourself. You're in a relationship with someone that may be similar to you, but they're not you. And so, like I said, there'll be always like your concerns and your things that mean something to you. And that's because it creates intimacy. And intimacy at its core is trust. So I let you in that close. It's difficult because I was betrayed. So it's all this healing, which, like I said, needs to be healed. It's not like this person doesn't care, but they're toxic, and they're toxic until they actually heal. So it's not that you can't be in a relationship with a person like this, but you'd have to have such strong boundaries. You'd have to realize that you're going to be a combination between a teacher, a mother, a friend. Like you play a lot of different roles in this person's life because they don't have, and they haven't, and they're too afraid to be vulnerable. So unless they're willing to be vulnerable, which right now we just see them fighting it. We see them saying they want to, but like, let me bump into you. If I want to talk to you, but I can't tell you everything. There's things going on in my life, like, that you would like probably be mortified by and judge me by. Again, they're karmic ties with people, situations, behaviorisms. So that all, if you would see actually all that, you'd be mortified. You wouldn't like that. I don't want you to see that. It's like, and that's why this person keeps you out afar. But that's why they would love to bump into you and be like, let's see, do you actually have feelings for me? What do you know? What do you not know? Like they're trying to strategize because you're not giving them anything. So that's where they are. And so, eventually they'll wind up coming back at this point, but it's a slow process. And that's what also I feel like this person wants to hold on to something, like because they are going through like change, awakening symptoms, because like I feel like a lot of things are going on in their life. It's not just you. It's again the family, family ties, whether it's again with that are karmic, or whether it's with friends, situations. It's like there's this person's life is being upheavaled, is what it's saying. So they're not really in a place to come back. But I'm curious. Usually, a person is holding on. Again, this person feels terrible for hurting you. So, which again, they never usually care, but they need time, and they need time because they're going through everything that they're going through. So I feel like again, they want to talk to you, they want to come back, and they plan to come back. I just feel like right now there's all this going on. Now you can say, well, then why did I attract this person into my life? Because you're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. And there's always healing, especially when you're like, well, what the fuck kind of energy is this? Like that I would attract this type of person. And Spirit says, remember, it started off with merciless forgiveness. So number one, you have to look at your inner child wounds. What do you need to forgive? Like, what is the reoccurring karmic theme that's playing out? And what should you do with the negative energy? So again, frustration, play, safety and security, laughter, nurturance, and let's see, shame. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So when we look at the inner child wounds, and I see shame and nurturance, it's like, well, that you weren't nurtured. If you were shamed, it's like you were told that you were bad. Like, and we're not shame. Especially when we're seeing that again, we're being shamed by a parent, that could be seen as like a little bit like bullying, a little bit like, not safe, not like within our security. Emotional security is just as important to a child, is actually the most important thing, more than anything else. But there wasn't that security, safety, because it wasn't nurturing. It's like if you didn't do what you were told, you were shamed, you were like yelled at, and understand this is how when children are growing up, their second chakra is being developed, and that's their unique individuality. It's their unfoldment process. It's who they want to be. It's their ideas. But when again you're being shamed by your for your ideals or the way that you think or the things that you're interested in, you begin to believe that you're bad, even though you know that you're not bad, like on a spiritual level. You're still on a physical level and psychological level. You've been conditioned to believe that you're bad. So you form habits and behaviorisms that are in alignment with that. And when we think that we're bad, we like hold back our energy. And so this comes out in the way that we play, right? It's like children are supposed to go out and play. That's how they find themselves. That's how they know what they like. That's how they know what they're interested in. But if your parent was like, no, no, you're not going to go and play. What you're going to do today is you're going to take that math quiz, like, and you're going to until you get a 95. You know why? Because your college and the rest of your life is on that one test. And if you fail that test, well, God help you, you're gonna wind up going being like working at Walmart for the rest of your life or some whatever, like it was like bad. So the perception, and so parents do that because they really want their children obviously to live the best life, but it's through their perception. So the second chakra is all about our unique unfoldment process. So if we weren't really allowed to have that, and we whenever we had these ideas they were kind of squashed, well then we can see why life would be a little bit frustrating. And then also being conditioned to how comfortable we are around with people that we have a strong emotional connection to, right? How open we are. So attracting a person that is emotionally shut down, which is that person, because they, again, I don't know how much I can let you in. They have a hard time like being vulnerable. Well, having parents that where they came across that way is just that trauma, is the remembrance of it. And it's to the child stuff. You might have needed a parent that was going to nurture you, that was going to, again, whichever child needs, right? One that's going to promote laughter, that there's going to be a lot of joy and laughter, not like, and where you're shamed, which I feel like, in a sense, the innocence then is robbed, right? It's like when children are growing up, and it's not because a parent means to, it's not a blame game, but we have to understand, where did the wound come from? And how is it playing out? What happens? What do I do that needs to be healed? What is the wound that keeps playing out? And so a wound would be, this is not a card. It would be there again, the attachment wound, which is like needing to form like the like having a secure attachment would be being with someone that emotionally doesn't give to you but financially gives to you, and then they emotionally get from you. So it's a real codependent type of paradoxal connection, but where over time there's a fine line between love and hate. And it's almost like what happens is it winds up like, yeah, having problems within trust in relationships, and trust in relationship with means that there's intimacy problems because of betrayal. And so also fear of abandonment and rejection, which is what this person has. And you might have it also because, hey, if there was no security and you were shamed, you were taught that love, that there were expectations. Like you got love if you did what your parents wanted you to do, or if you got, straight A's, or if you were seen a certain way, that again, you needed to be seen that way. Otherwise, you were talked to a certain way, you were treated a certain way. So it's that it's emotional distance, clinginess, codependency, trouble fully opening up due to past neglect and inconsistent care. So you forming attachments more than relationships. And so you might say, yeah, I wind up with people that are like messed up. They never give me on an emotional level. And spirit says, yes, because you never got it. So there's a sense of I need it. I'm fragmented there. I don't have it. And spirit says, you don't need it. You can become it. You are it. And you're like, no, I'm not. I need that. And spirit says, no, there's a sense of when we have trust issues, then we're putting too much energy on the other person. Trust comes from trusting ourselves, having discernment, because we can't control what another person's going to do. And a person you can trust today and they can switch it up tomorrow by the fact that you were too kind, too nice, overgave, overdid, and said, well, they weren't the same person when I first met them. They switched it. And so that's the trust, but there's a sense of not trusting ourselves. And that's because of abandonment issues at a young age, inconsistent care, again, that attachment style of not having it, being abandoned, and emotionally and psychologically, where the parent just checks out. They don't want to deal with whatever your emotional issue is. And it's not a blame game, but we have to understand where it comes from. Because spiritual healing is that we have to go back and integrate the fragmented parts of the inner child, right? Otherwise, they continue to play out. And so, we always see it within the attachment style that always comes to us. Because then we say, this is all I can have. Because this is who I always attract. I always attract people like this. And the spirit says, that's because of you. And the spirit says you need to open up your third eye, which show up as lack of clarity, intuition, or inner vision, leaving you feeling lost or disconnected from your purpose. It may manifest as overthinking, difficulty trusting. Here we see the trust again, because if we have that second chakra, all our chakras are imbalanced. Um, Overthinking, difficulty trusting your instincts, and resistant to spiritual insight and self awareness. Now, does that mean that your intuition doesn't work when you're dealing with other people? No, you can be spot on when it comes to reading other people. It's just yourself that you can't read for, because on an emotional level, you get so like it's too difficult for you to discern and understand. Is because you're being triggered by old wounds, and those old wounds of abandonment, those old wounds of, if I'm not a certain way, I'm not going to be liked, I'm not going to be loved. And so it's again that perception. So of course it would block your third eye wounds, but like the irony is betrayal wounds. And I'm going to say, because when we abandon ourselves, it's a form of betrayal. So betrayal first comes from, like I said, abandoning ourselves. So when you don't know and you form an attachment where you're like, well, I don't really believe I can have that. And it could be passion, it could be fun, it could be whatever it is in life that you feel like you're lacking, or that it's just not manifesting. And we connect to people that we feel like, well, they have that trait and we admire that trait. There's usually one person that is stronger in certain elements than another. Well, what winds up happening, if you're getting a person that is emotionally, they can be transparent, or they have a lot of blocks within their trust, well, then it winds up forming attachment style where you feel like, I don't emotionally get out of this connection, where the person is not evolved. And it's because, again, they've they've set the relationship up to be that way, but it's also you've gone along with it. So, and if you're that way of saying, is because that there's a piece of you that's missing, We only form attachments when we feel a lack, when there's something, again, there. And that's when we always get betrayed because we're not coming from a balanced perception. Trust is intimacy, that's that second chakra. Betrayal, when we grow up in that environment, which this person grew up in that environment, and so you attract this person because also you have attachment issues. You actually, again, had that. And so, again, where betrayal comes from trust, but we have to trust ourselves. When we're true to ourselves, then our intuition is on point. Our third eye is open because we're balanced, we're real, we're true. We're not trying to, again, be liked or feel like not okay within ourselves, because then we're overstimulated and we're not going to know what we feel, and we're not going to pick up on our intuition that will tell us that the person is not trustworthy. A lot of times we're too close up to the picture, so we don't see, and we see what we want to see. And it's so, and because on an emotional level, we become attached to that person. The issue is we're like, well, how could they do what they did to us? Well, it's because we formed an attachment to them. And that doesn't mean that they formed the same type of an attachment to us. They can have an attachment. You can be attached to somebody that you don't really have feelings for, but you're attached to them for different reasons. And that's when it's a negative attachment. That's when it's usually becomes a trauma bond. And that's what is, again, leaves us in a place of shame. So it's an energy that is difficult to forgive. It's difficult because of that. It's not because there's not love there. It's because of that. So, and that's because Spirit's saying, well, nothing would awaken your wounds. And you might say, well, I don't care. The Spirit says, but you do care because it plays out within your money and money wounds, because money has no real energy except the energy that you give it. So when there's disconnect from mother and father, when there's been betrayal and it affects that root chakra, it's going to affect, again, every area of your life. So you may say, I don't care about the relationship, but you would care about your finances. You care about it. It's the way that it just manifests. And it manifests, like you said, within the all major systems of your physical body over time. And that's because if you have problems making money and if you have trouble in your relationships, you're going to be angry all the time. And if you're angry all the time and holding on to resentment, then you're open to negative spirits. Then people get cancer and they get other problems, which, is connected to like these lower energies. So shame is always connected to that, because we're not shame, but shame means like you've gone through energies where you betrayed or you were betrayed. It's like, and it's usually a two-way street. You get betrayed, you betray. It's like because you're stuck in the survival loop. And so, which is why people form attachments, because they're like, there's something wrong with me, when really there's nothing wrong with you. And the person can perceive that about themselves. So if you got that close, you're going to see all that. And so you can understand. So Spirit says, for you, it's like you attracted that person because of the attachment style too. But that's where your needs were not being met, on an emotional level. So it doesn't mean that you should be with this person where you just say again what is their intention and what's going on with them, so that you can see things from a more balanced perception, because it was to awaken the healing that you needed. But then there's still this negative energy, which is like, great, well, that I just went through all that. And Spirit says, well, you're supposed to manifest with that energy, turn the pain into power, turn that anger and rage into something creative energy. Otherwise, it's just kind of like there, we're always supposed to do something with it. And so Spirit says, first and foremost, it's about learning how to be vulnerable. So being open to healing by embracing your true like authenticity, like being true to yourself. That's really what it is. Being open to healing your faults is your true strength. So we start there, and that's the second chakra thing. Being vulnerable is what helps us create the intimacy. So having that issue where you also were not told not that weren't allowed to be vulnerable because again there was conditions to love where spirit says then we tend to water ourselves down. We tend to try to people please. We try to, we move further away from, our authenticity. And the universe is only going to respond to what's true, what's really in your heart. Like, even if you like try and create something else, Spirit will say, I can still see, what you're not showing. The Spirit says, use your powerful voice to speak it into existence. It's also to denounce any negative spirits that have like come into your life, where you've, grew up in a certain way. If you grew up being shamed, denounce that spirit, that negative spirit, because it's about ascending life, letting go of who you were to realize who you are. So, before you were taught that you were a spiritual being having human experience, it was okay to look at your experiences and judge yourself by your experience because you didn't know any better. But now that you know that you're a spiritual being having human experiences and life is school, that you attract people that not are who you are, but the more of the experiences that affected you and to the way that the lessons that you need to learn from that, because again it's how that they affected you on an emotional and psychological level makes you feel about you. But it's only a perception, and that perception is because you lived it, but there's many different realities that play out. So there's other ways that it could play out that you actually see yourself as courageous, strong. It's always about reframing, and that's how we can really ascend life. Because when we think that we're someone that we're not, a lot of times we think that we're someone due to the fact that someone else has told us who we are. We haven't figured it out on our own. So, we're able to actually transcend that. And that's what would happen. And it goes back to the same thing, which is like spirit saying, like acknowledge that you're actually a strong person, that you're not a weak person, that, look at everything that you've gone through within your life. It's brought you about. Now you might say, "Oh my God, everything that I went through in my life, there must be something wrong," or must be. Spirit says, "No, it made you strong, and I made you strong maybe because there's an actual purpose, you know, but that purpose can't emerge until you release negative beliefs that no longer serve you, that you're not really even aware of. Like if you were conscious of, you'd be like, oh, I don't think that about myself. I don't do any of that. Spirit saying it's like you wouldn't do it. And so Spirit says it's all about the grand journey, and that is life. That there's no, we tend to like judge our experiences, and spirit says it's not about you judging your experiences, realizing that all experiences good and bad are what shape your soul's evolution to help you grow. And you can't grow until you actually, you know like release the chains that bind you to those lower perceptions that were created from real experiences but made you perceive that you're someone that you're not because you weren't educated from a spiritual perspective or really understanding on why. And that's because a lot of times that will be like, well, why? And spirit says, well, to help you again ascend life, to metamorphose into a newer version of yourself, a more truer version of yourself. Because, our parents can guide us, and other people can advise us, but inevitably, if we're not feeling it, we're not going to be able to manifest it, right? It's like you manifest through the thoughts that you think, the emotions that you have. We have to embody that new consciousness. So, inevitably, you have to find your own way, and you do find your own way, whether you want to or not. And that's really what it's about, so that you can let go. And when you do, you wind up, Spirit saying, you wind up getting a lot of energy because you clear those spiritual blockages that are held in the body as stress. It's felt as, that it's they're held in the body as stress is what you become, that energy. But when you integrate spiritual blockages, which what helps us do that is our relationships. What helps us do that is experiences in general, that we have to see the situation from a different perception to help us heal. Well, again, you wind up like getting more energy because you're releasing those blockages. Your body is your mind's faithful servant. So the block is in your mind, but it's held in the body as stress. And then you're taking all that negative energy and you're alchemizing it, because that's what it says. Well, the energy is to powered by the divine, it said, right? It says something like that. Where was it? I don't know. It said, yeah, boundless energy. It says, harness your inner energy vitality to fuel your journey in life, powered by the divine. So it's like what it is that the prana, chi, well, that energy is also spirit, is because again, God's ubiquitous, it's omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. So it's the energy that you breathe that gives you life. Breath is known as spirit, so it's giving you life. And so when you clear those blockages, you get more energy and you're able to channel that energy into purpose. So you're taking all that negative energy, all that anger, all that pain, where it's like, hey, you don't really deserve to be forgiven. I'm kind of fucking angry. It's like, because I'm seeing things from a different perception, you're channeling it into purpose, and at divine timing, it all comes together where spirit makes a way where there is no way just for you, but is that the plan unfolds and you're not in charge of it. But that energy is used to alchemize, those wounds that you have, by transmuting them, by changing them, by turning that pain into power. Otherwise, there would be nothing to do with that negative energy. But just because we learned in the mind, the energy is not gone. We have to still do something with it. We have to step into a whole new consciousness. And that is really what helps you ascend life. Let go of who you once were, become who you are. That's how you release those chains that have bound you to that lower perception, because it was a belief. And that belief was built on the fact that you had to live that way at one time. And now Spirit says it's all about you, allowing serenity to reign in you, that you love, that you have for yourself, invites harmony to settle within your being, that you listen to and honor and strive to fulfill the needs of your own soul right now. It's all about you. And it's again, open your eyes and your heart and direct your gaze to the light within every being. Personality and physical appearance are in the image of man. Beauty and goodness are in the image of God. So that, that this person is a good person down deep inside, that again, that life turns us into, situations that turns us into people that we're not, is what Spirit's saying. And then leave it in God's hands. That your trust in life is implicit, that God's greater knowing and greatest love guides your heart and your choices. Your faith is steady and you remain true to your light. Everything unfolds according to God's will. So you might be waiting for something to happen, and, this would be an opportune time for this person to come in during that time, because it would be more like a karmic test where, they didn't win the test. So you say that they were a past life karmic mate, and so a lot of times the past life karmic mate has an opportunity to step it up into the twin flame level, and that's through learning, and that's through healing, and that's through love. Because remember, past life karmic means that you've gone through these tests before. They haven't passed them, and they didn't really pass it in this life either. But what they see is after the fact. And so that's how you know that they're a karmic mate. And part of their karma is that they lose you because you're ascending life. And so you're becoming a completely different person. So it was never meant, I don't think that you were ever really meant to be with this person. However, they definitely helped you heal and you helped them heal. Now it could have went a completely other reality. Like if you would have like really went in full force with this person, it could have really ruined your life because of the fact of their spiritual blockages. And when I say ruin your life, you would never be happy because they're not capable on an emotional level. They want to bump into you so that they can leave out half their story. I mean, that's pretty much, if I'm going to summarize and be direct, that's what it is. It's like, but do they have feelings for you? Yeah. But they know that you would not like that the version of them that they are, and that they need to heal spiritually, because that there's issues there that come out in their behaviorisms and habits that would be sabotaging, that they don't deserve the forgiveness. And that's, no one wants to be in a relationship like that. You'd be angry all the time and resentful all the time. And that is that's a negative attachment. That's a negative attachment. And that's what this person only knows how to have. So no one's doing that. This is what Spirit says. It's about focusing on you, loving you. It's all about you right now, not this person. All right, I'm going to leave that there. You let me know how you resonated. And if you resonated, give it a like, comment. I'm going to be on a lot more often. The side hustle is over. Wasn't worth my time. I was a little sorry that I did it. And Spirit says I did it for the relationship. I thought I was doing it for the money, but Spirit says, oh, you did it for the connections. So let's see whether it brings something. Usually Spirit's right, but a lot of times we think that we're doing something for one reason and it's not even the reason. It's like after, and it's never the reason that I wanted anyway. You know, it's like I could have just stayed home and made my life easier. That was a dumb move. Anyway, until next time, be true to you. I'll talk to you guys soon, but I'm going to be on more often, and coaching will resume tomorrow. All right. If you haven't signed up, you still have time. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.